Hey everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Neline and I'm a dairy farmer from Saskatchewan, Canada. My parents, my two sisters and I milk about 300 cows here. And today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be diving into a sector on our dairy farm that is steers. It kind of sets us apart from a lot of other operations around here is that we keep our bull calves from day one. We raise them right to 1,500 pounds. And that takes about 17 months. So today we're going to be talking all about that. We're going to start with our standard operating procedures. So everything we do from the day that calf is born until it reaches 17 months and it goes on that cattle liner to the packing plant. And then once we know everything that we do on our farm, we're going to dive into the finances. So exactly how many dollars we're spending to raise these animals and exactly how much we're getting paid and how we get paid. So by the end of today's video, you guys will know exactly how we raise these steers, and you'll also know exactly how much money we're making. So I hope you guys are excited for this video. If you are, hit that like button. Let me know you want to see this kind of topic. There's definitely some other, I guess, sectors on the farm that we could look into and do the same kind of thing for. So I figured we'd start out in the milk herd barn. So there's 300 cows, milking cows in this barn here. And it's important to talk about our breeding program to start this video because we still get roughly, I'd say not quite 50-50 heifer calves, bull calves, but we do get pretty close to half bull calves. And that's because on our milk herd here, we're still using 100% conventional purebred Holstein semen. We're not using any sex semen on our milk herd, and we're also not using any crossbreeding, so we're not using any Black Angus or any other beef bulls. It is strictly Holstein bulls that we're using in here, and that's my dad's decision. We've obviously seen a lot of dairy farms going for the sex semen on the top half of their herd and then beef on the bottom half, because you do get more money for those beef cows or the beef steers when they are raised and finished, or when you're just selling them as a calf. But Dad doesn't want to do that yet. He still believes that the Holstein heifers will come back and they'll be worth some money someday. So we haven't quite gone that route. I don't think we will in the future either. We're just conventional Holstein semen all the way through. So that's how and why we end up with as many Holstein bull calves as we do, probably around the 200 a year. We do, however, use sex semen on our heifers for their first two breedings. So we do use a little bit of sexed Holstein semen, but nothing on the milk herd, and we're still left with the majority 50-50 heifer calves, bull calves. Our parlor's up there, and here is our maternity barn. So we got the 4 maternity packs, and this is where all the cows calve on our dairy farm. So this is where the life starts of heifer calves and bull calves. I just wanted to be here and talk a little bit here as well to mention that we don't treat our bull calves any differently from the heifer calves for the first 5 months of their lives. They're treated just the equal. They get whole milk, they get real colostrum. They're in the same calf barn next to each other, which you guys will see here in a second. But it's important to mention that we don't put the bull calves, for example, in hutches outside. They're in the expensive calf barn, just like the heifer calves. We treat them the exact same. We're now in the calf barn. This is the one with the individual pens, and this is where newborn calves are brought to first. So when they're 0 days old, this is where they live for the first 2.5 months of their lives. It's just a room with 12 pens on each side. They're all separate, and you'll see here some calves have blue tags, and then some calves have white tags or no tags. They just haven't got their heifer tags yet. But the blue tags are for steer calves, bulls, those are guys, and then the white tags would be for the heifers. So you can see here, it's a pretty simple setup. A calf gets a pen, 4 foot wide, 10 foot deep. And you can see my mom here. She's actually feeding the calves milk right now with the milk taxi. The calves do get whole milk, and that's in the milk taxi there. That's pasteurized. We'll head over to the calf kitchen shortly after. But for the first, I guess, 8 weeks in this calf barn, what they're getting is the calf starter. So this is corn, there's some oats, and there's a pellet soaked in molasses. It smells amazing. And they're also getting whole milk, and that's from the milking parlor. So no milk replacer. That's what the calves are getting to start. And then once they're weaned off of milk, still in this barn, they'll get water in those pails instead of milk. They're just bedded on sawdust bedding, and they spend about 2.5 months here, or 10 weeks typically. So when a steer calf comes into this calf barn, they're getting their blue ear tags right away. They're also getting a vaccine, and they're also getting an elastic put around their nuts. So they're castrated right away. And the only other time these guys should get a vaccine is when they're leaving this calf barn. That's roughly 2.5 months of age is when they'll leave. So that's the second time they'll get a vaccine. And then there's a third vaccine. That's what they get when they go out to the corrals. We're now in the calf kitchen, and this is where all the milk and the colostrum is prepared for the calves that are in those individual pens, that first barn that we just checked out. So we got the double pasteurizers here, 90 gallons each. Then we also have the third pasteurizer here. That's for colostrum. This is all waste milk that comes from the milking parlor. So we have cows that have a bit of antibiotics, or maybe they are fresh or for whatever reason, and their milk is waste milk is what we call it. It's still actually perfectly good for the calves. And that's one of our biggest cost savings. We don't feed any milk replacer. We're feeding milk from the milk herd directly to the calves after, of course, it gets pasteurized. So if there's anything wrong with the milk, or there's any maybe transmittable diseases, it'll get pasteurized. That'll kill anything and make it safe for the calves to drink. The calves absolutely can drink unpasteurized milk. It's just you might transmit diseases between the cows and the calves, and we're trying to step in between that and stop that from happening with this. So that's where the milk is prepared. The milk taxi would sit there, and this is for colostrum. So that's another huge cost savings that we do on our dairy farm, is we pasteurize the colostrum. So we're not using what we'll see right here, the powder colostrum. I believe these are 45 bucks a bag, and this is a colostrum replacer. So that's an attempt to try to use the least amount of colostrum, and we're just saving it from the fresh cows that we milk in our milk herd. And once it is pasteurized in the pasteurizer, it goes in our freezer. And then we got 2 liter bags, 4 liter bags. If we need to feed it, we'll just take it, drop it in the pasteurizer here, which has a reheating mode, and it'll thaw it out nicely, and then we'll feed it to the calf like that. So that's how the milk and colostrum is prepared for the calves. So this is the first barn where the calves are actually grouped together in groups, and still the heifers and the steers are mixed together in the same pen. They're not treated any differently out here. They have, of course, the water bowl. Each pen has a water bowl, and then they're still getting that same calf starter ration as they were in the individual pen barn. And that's free choice over here. Actually, since they're day one, they get free choice. So that means we just put a bunch in front of them, and they're allowed to eat as much as they want. You can't just, after a calf is 3 months old, start doing this. You kind of got to raise them from day one on that. Otherwise, they'll eat too much all of a sudden one day. And these calves are also getting a bit of hay. It's feeding time right now, so you don't see any of that hay in front, but there would otherwise be some grass hay right here. 3 or 4 weeks or so before these calves go outside, which is when they'll be roughly 5 months old, they will start to get a TMR with some silage and some more corral-like feed. And this is just to help smooth their transition from the calf barn here, going out to the corrals, because that's what they're going to be fed once they get out there to the corrals. So we just want to kind of make that transition a little bit smoother. So for the last 3-4 weeks or so, they get a TMR right here, total mixed ration. once those calves reach about 5 months old in that group pen barn, that's the average age they're leaving the calf barn and going out to the feedlot, which is where we're walking right now. And that's where the heifers and steers get separated. So we have different rations that we want to feed those steers from the heifers. The steers are going to start putting on the weight, and the heifers, they are not going to put on as much weight. We're trying to get these guys as heavy as possible, as quickly as possible. And that's kind of the goal with raising steers. So these are the 2 steer corrals that we have in our feedlot, corral 4, corral 5. These are the younger guys. So out of the calf barn at 5 months old, they go straight into this corral. And then, I don't know, halfway through their growing period, we'll move them over there. We always just move them over to the older corral based on size. So we'll take the entire group out, pick the biggest half out and move them over. Not too complicated, pretty simple. The calves are vaccinated as they come out to the corral. So when they're 5 months old, leaving that calf barn, they'll get vaccinated. That's the last time these steers will get vaccinated. And we also give them a growth hormone when they're out in the corrals, a grower, and then a finisher hormone. I believe the grower is good for up to 6 months, which is pretty cool. So you don't have to give it to them too often. And the TMR consists mostly of corn grain. There's, I believe, 5.7 kgs or 6 kgs of corn grain in this TMR, and then 8 kgs of whey permeate, 5.7 kgs of barley, 600 grams of a steer supplement, and then 900 grams of wheat DDGs. So labor is pretty minimal. It takes about 45 minutes to feed these guys. And there's about 180 steers out in these corrals total. So 45 minutes a day feeding. We will take them out on average once every 3 months or so to put hormones in there. And that'll take us, me and my dad, 180 steers will take 3 hours tops for us to completely hormone. So maybe 4 hours. It wouldn't take any longer than that though. This right here is the handling system that we've built for all of the corrals, so including the steers, but this is also for the heifers as well and all the cows. But it's pretty simple, I guess. There's a concrete pad, then we got the hydraulic chute, a reverse tub in the back, probably a 20-foot or 7-meter long alley. We also have a hoof trim chute, and then we have the loading ramp. So for steers specifically, since we knew we were going to start raising them, that's why we went for the hydraulic chute. So that was kind of a special investment versus a mechanical chute, which would have been maybe half of the price. And then we also have the loading ramp. This thing's good to load cattle liners as well as stock trailers. It's adjustable, so you can load a regular stock trailer as well as those big cattle liners. So this all works good, makes handling these steers nice and easy. One thing that we really like about this Pearson chute for this steer specifically is this, I guess you could use it, call it a head clamp or something. It kind of pushes the steer's head over so you can get that implant nicely in their ear. Doesn't hurt the steer, just holds them still so they can't hurt themselves or us. Works pretty good. And of course you need the hoof trim chute as well. Some of those steers will get hairy heel wart, so you do need to run them through the chute, but that's, you know, once a month, maybe twice a month. Pretty minimal. So hopefully I did a good job explaining everything that we do on our farm to get those steer calves from day 1 to 17 months when they are leaving the farm. With that, we're going to dive into the finances. All right, now we're going to talk about the finances of raising the steers. We're going to kind of do this in 2 different parts. For the calf barn, we're going to talk about the first 5 months of inputs. I'll tell you how much they're getting per day, and then I will put the combined total price of that cost for the entire 5 months on the screen. So we're going to start out with milk. The calves for the first 8 to 10 weeks are going to get 6 liters a day on average milk. This is whole milk, it's pasteurized, And on our dairy operation, this genuinely would either go down the drain or to the calves. Still perfectly good for the calves, just because it has antibiotics in it. It has to be discarded. So we're not actually going to put a price on that. I know, cheating right off the bat, but it's waste milk and we can pasteurize it and feed it to the calves. So we're not going to put a price on that. Calf starter, 1.5 kgs per head per day for a total of $216. Hay, the calves are only eating 300 grams a day when they are getting it for the 2.5 months when they're in those group pens. That totals $7. Silage, 4 kgs for the last month that they're in that group pen barn, totals $11. Vet fees, this is going to cover tags, vaccines, if calves are getting sick, total of $25. Labor is going to cost $85 per calf in our calf barns. Pretty high, but these calves, they need to get colostrum when they're young. They need to be bottle fed. They need to be checked up on every day. If a calf is sick, it takes a lot of time to take care of it, and it's just a labor-intensive job raising calves. And then the last input cost we have is straw and sawdust for bedding, which is also going to total $20. So all of those things combined adds up to $364 for the, I guess, variable inputs in the calf barn. And that's the first 5 months of a steer's life on the dairy farm. The next part is corrals, and that's going to be 12 months in the corrals. So 5 months, 12 months, 17 months total life on the dairy farm. Starting out with their supplement, what they eat every single day, the TMR. They have beef mineral. They consume 600 grams a day for a total cost of $130. Dried distillers grains, they eat 900 grams a day for a total of $145. They eat 5.7 kgs of barley silage a day for a total of $90. They eat 1.6 kgs of wheat straw for a total of $50. And this is the big one, 7.8 kgs of barley grain a day for a grand total of $855. That's the big one. I know I say they eat corn grain right now, which they do. I converted this over to the equivalent of barley grain just for prices, because we have barley grain available locally. And the last ingredient in their total mixed ration is whey permeate, and they eat 8 kgs of that a day for a total of $80 over 12 months. So that's their TMR, beef supplement, dried distillers grain, barley silage, straw, barley grain, and then whey permeate. That's what they're eating. The next cost is bedding. So in the wintertime, those corrals need to be bedded a minimum of 2 times a week with 2 bales each. Bedding cost per steer is $30, which is quite a bit. Labor is going to be $40 per steer. This is feeding them. Feeding those steers probably takes 45 minutes a day, and then also hormoning them, and if any get sick. So labor is $40. Vet fees is going to be $20. This includes those hormones, and if any cows get hairy heel wart, we'll treat them, or if they get sick, we'll also treat them, of course. And then the last input for the steers out in the corrals is manure handling. So we got to clean those corrals out, the 2 corrals, every single spring, and that is going to cost $25 per steer for a grand total of $1,465. And that's what it costs for the 12 months out in the corrals. So if you add those 2 numbers together, the corral inputs and the calf barn inputs, you get to the number of $1,829. There's one last thing that we have to talk about though, kind of sucks, and that is if you have any steers dying. This is something you have to calculate though if you're talking business and input costs. I'd say that probably 2% of the steers will die at any point, so we will add 2% to that 1,829 for a total of 1,865 worth of input. So that's the number. It's unfortunate if you're gonna have livestock, you're gonna have dead stock, but you gotta count it. So the total input costs are $1,865 to raise a steer in today's market. That is a lot, $1,865 per Holstein steer. That is a huge cost, especially when you're raising 200 of them a year. But we'll pull the load slip up here on the screen and I'll show you guys exactly what we got paid for the last load of steers that we shipped. So if you look at the load slip, you'll see the grading. The majority of these guys went AAA, which is incredibly good. A lot of people don't expect Holstein steers to go AAA, but they do. Quite a few went AA, and there was a single steer that went single A. So pretty good grading. There's a couple dockages there. 2 steers were just too heavy, so we got docked $250 per steer. But if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the load slip, you'll see $93,232. And if you divide that by 40, you get to the number of $2,333 per steer is what we got paid for that last load that went. So if you subtract $1,865 from what we got paid, $2,333, you get to the grand total of $468 is what we make per steer in today's market. Really good steer price and really expensive ingredients. You can see we're still able to make a little bit of money there for each steer that we raise to finish. Looks like the grain prices though now are dropping. Feed barley is dropping, thankfully. So that's it, $468 per steer today is what we're making for the Holstein steers to raise them. Just a few months ago, the barley price was way higher and it was borderline to losing money, but it's looking better and better. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I don't know what else I can say. I hope I answered all of your questions. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. This video took a lot more effort than the usual farm vlog that I'm posting. So I hope you guys did enjoy it anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.